Welcome to your personal revolution.
Hi, everyone.
If you're, maybe in your 40s and you're feeling that sort of pull for something more, especially maybe in your relationships or just unlocking your own potential.
Then yeah, you've definitely landed in the right place.
Absolutely.
You're here to explore how you can really connect better with yourself first and then build those stronger, more fulfilling relationships. It's not always about grand gestures, right? It's more about understanding what makes us all tick.
It really is. I'm Bibadura, and as a life and mindset coach, I see it all the time, how our own internal stuff, those beliefs we don't even realize we have, the emotional habits, they can be the biggest roadblocks, honestly, in creating the love and the life that you actually want. So my focus is really helping you spot those blocks and navigate through them.
And I'm Max. Working alongside B, my role is kind of bringing a practical angle to all this. I look at how we can use, let's say, clearer frameworks, tangible shifts in how you see things, really to build healthier connections and, well, unlock that personal growth we're talking about. Think of it like providing the actionable steps that really work hand in hand with B's insights into the why.
Exactly, because ultimately our mission working together here is to give you both the understanding and the practical tools.
Tools you can use.
Yes, tools you can actually use to, take charge, to actively shape your personal evolution, especially in how you relate to yourself and to other people.
We really believe that understanding your own mind, your own patterns, and the dynamics in your relationships, that's just key. It's fundamental to living a more empowered and, frankly, more joyful life.
It is.
It's about spotting those patterns, maybe ones you've been repeating, and then making conscious choices to do things differently.
So if you're ready to really dive into what it takes to build those stronger bonds and tap into your potential right now at this stage of life, then stick with us.
We're genuinely excited to explore these really important parts of personal growth with you.
Welcome, truly, to your personal revolution.
Okay, so just as we sort of close out this initial thought, maybe consider this. Your personal revolution, whether it's in relationships or just your own growth, it isn't really about finding some, perfect finish line.
That's such a good point. It's not. It's really an ongoing thing, right? A process of learning, changing, evolving.
Exactly.
So maybe just think about this. What's one small shift? Just one tiny change in, that feeling, that constant hum almost of being busy. Your calendar's packed, the inbox is overflowing, just endless things you have to do.
Yeah, it seems like the default state for so many people.
It really does. And, there's this idea in our culture, isn't there?
Oh, definitely.
That if you're busy, you must be, important, productive, successful.
It's almost worn like a badge of honor. Busyness itself is proof of value.
Exactly.
But what we're digging into today really challenges that whole notion.
How so?
Well, the idea is that maybe all that activity isn't actually moving us forward at all. It might actually be keeping us stuck right where we are.
Okay, so that's the big question for this deep dive then. What if this perpetual busyness isn't really productivity? What if it's, a clever trick our brain uses to keep us from doing something else?
Something potentially uncomfortable, yeah.
And what's the real cost of that? Of staying stuck? Hidden behind the busy?
Exactly. It touches on some fascinating psychology and even neuroscience. We're going to explore why change often feels so hard.
Okay.
What's going on in the brain that makes taking that first step feel, almost impossible sometimes.
Yeah.
And importantly, how we might start to reframe that.
So our mission today is to unpack all of this, understand those hidden costs when busyness is just covering for avoiding change, and hopefully equip you, our listener, with some insights, maybe unlock a path for growth,
Sounds good.
All right, let's jump in. So this idea that busyness can be a kind of shield, a way to avoid something.
Right. The thinking is that constant activity can actually be an unconscious strategy, a way to dodge the discomfort, the uncertainty.
The difficult feelings.
Yeah, exactly. The difficult emotions that, let's face it, often come with real change. If you're always just reacting, putting out fires.
You don't have the headspace.
Precisely. No mental space, no time to pause and ask those deeper questions like, am I happy with this direction? Or does something fundamental need to shift here?
So it's basically a distraction. A really effective, socially acceptable distraction.
That's a great way to put it. And there's a neurological reason why we resist change so much. One key idea is something called cognitive inertia.
Cognitive inertia.
Think of it like this.
Yeah.
Your brain loves efficiency. It builds these super fast pathways for all your routine thoughts and behaviors. These are the well-trodden roads,
Easy pass.
very easy paths. Now, trying to break out of those and build new paths, that takes way more energy, significant mental energy.
Okay, unpack that. So the brain is fundamentally lazy, but in a good energy-saving way, it sticks to the familiar because it's easier.
That's it. It defaults to what's known, what's predictable, because it's just more efficient. Now, layer something else on top of that. Decision fatigue.
Ah, I think I know this one.
You probably feel it. You spend all day making decisions, right? And big ones, tiny ones, what to wear, what to eat, how to answer that email, deal with that request.
Your decision-making muscle gets tired.
It gets depleted. Totally. So by the end of the day, maybe even mid-afternoon for some.
You're just mentally wiped out.
Exactly. And when you're feeling like that, the idea of tackling a big decision, about making a significant change, starting something new, having that difficult conversation, changing a habit.
Feels impossible, overwhelming.
Completely overwhelming.
Right.
So that natural tendency, the cognitive inertia, it gets amplified by the fatigue. Your brain is basically screaming, no, stick with what we know. It's easier.
Wow. Okay, so when we say, oh, I'm just too busy to change, it's not just about lacking minutes in the day.
Not entirely, no.
It's rooted deep in our brain's energy-saving system and its resistance to the mental heavy lifting change demands.
That's a huge part of it. Less about literal clock time, more about these mental barriers built by inertia and fatigue. And this is where the real costs start piling up.
The hidden costs you mentioned, what are they specifically?
Well, by constantly reacting, prioritizing maybe short-term, sometimes low-value tasks that feel urgent.
But aren't really important in the long run.
Maybe not. You prevent yourself from doing the kind of deeper reflection, the strategic thinking that's actually needed for growth. You sacrifice crucial resources.
Like what kind of resources?
Well, clarity, for one. Clarity about your long-term goals. If you never pause, how can you see where you're actually heading?
Right. Makes sense.
Creativity gets stifled too, you know? Finding new solutions. You're stuck on that same old road. And this is a big one, emotional resilience.
How does that connect?
Being constantly in that reactive, busy state is incredibly draining. It leaves you with less capacity to handle real challenges when they inevitably pop up.
So it sounds like you're not just treading water by being busy. You might actually be like digging yourself deeper into a hole.
In a way, yes. The long-term fallout can be significant. Research links this pattern directly to burnout.
Which people often just mistake for being really, really busy.
They do. It also reduces your mental flexibility, makes you less adaptable. So paradoxically, staying too busy all the time actually increases chronic stress. It chips away at your satisfaction with work, with life. And ultimately, it just limits your potential. Your potential for real accomplishment, for well-being. You could just show up as feeling kind of numb or stuck in negative thought loops.
Okay, that paints a pretty stark picture. Busyness as this complex avoidance strategy that leads to burnout and stagnation.
You can, yeah.
So if taking that first step towards change feels so hard because of these deep brain mechanics, how on earth do you start to break that cycle?
Right, and this is where the more hopeful findings come in. It's not about finding some massive burst of willpower you probably don't have left anyway.
Okay, good. Because that sounds exhausting too.
It is. It's more about working with your brain's tendencies, not fighting against them.
How do you do that?
Well, we know the brain can change, right?
Yeah.
Neuroplasticity, it can rewire itself.
Yeah.
The key isn't some giant radical overhaul. It's about deliberate micro shifts.
Micro shifts, tiny changes.
Tiny, almost invisible adjustments to your routine, maybe your mindset, your environment. Just one small thing.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, say you want to start exercising. Instead of thinking, I need to go to the gym for an hour, a micro shift might be just putting your running shoes by the door. That's it.
That's the action.
That's the first action. It signals to your brain, okay, this isn't some huge scary threat. It's manageable. These tiny, consistent actions, repeated over time, they start to build new neural pathways.
Creating new, easy roads for the brain.
You got it. They make the new way of thinking or behaving feel less weird, less draining, eventually more natural than the old pattern. That initial resistance, that feeling of this is hard, it's real, it's natural change, is scary.
Fear of the unknown.
Totally. But the momentum, it only builds after you take that first tiny step.
So instead of I have to totally change my career path, which is terrifying, it's more like what's one 5-minute thing I could do today that's vaguely related to exploring something different?
That is the strategic reframe, yes.
Yeah.
It's spotting the difference between genuine, meaningful action and just filling time to feel busy.
Right. Activity versus progress.
Exactly. It's about intentionally carving out moments, maybe just a few minutes to pause, reflect, and then pick one single micro-action. It's using that understanding of inertia and fatigue to make the first step feel almost ridiculously small.
It really does sound like the answer isn't about magically finding more hours in the day.
Rarely is.
It's about being super intentional with the time you do have and aiming that energy strategically, even in tiny bursts.
That's absolutely the core takeaway. The best investment is creating space, mental space, physical space, just to pause, assess where you are, where you want to go, and then start to change with these small, deliberate, consistent steps. And knowing why it feels hard, the inertia, the fatigue, the brain's wiring that actually gives you power, you can work with it instead of just feeling defeated by it.
Understanding the mechanics. Yeah, that it's not some personal flaw, but just how our brains are built.
Yeah,
That does feel empowering.
it is.
It means, okay, change is difficult by design, but it's also doable with smart, small actions.
Precisely. Knowing the operating system lets you start writing a new little piece of code. You can begin making space for growth, no matter how buried under busyness you feel right now.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive, the core insight seems pretty stark, actually. That feeling of being constantly busy, it's not automatically a sign of success or productivity. It might just be a really sophisticated way our brains help us avoid the discomfort, the uncertainty that comes with real change.
Right. And we know the mechanisms now, that cognitive inertia, making it hard to break routines, and decision fatigue, just draining our willpower to choose something new.
Yeah, the brain likes predictable. It saves energy. So that first step into the unknown feels huge, triggers resistance.
Exactly.
And the cost of staying in that busy but stuck loop, it's not nothing. It drains things like clarity, creativity, resilience over time, can lead to burnout, limit potential, really impact your well-being.
Yeah, increased stress, less satisfaction.
Yeah.
It adds up.
But and this is the hopeful part. The counter view is that change doesn't need some massive heroic effort.
No drastic overnight stuff.
It's not about finding extra hours you don't have. It's about using the brain's own ability to change neuroplasticity through tiny, intentional micro-shifts.
Those small, consistent actions,
Yeah.
they're incredibly powerful for rewiring those old pathways, making the new way feel normal over time.
So it comes back to being intentional, creating deliberate space, even tiny moments to reflect and take one small step.
That's the heart of it.
Okay. So here's a final thought from this deep dive for you, the listener, to maybe chew on this week. If avoiding change feels safer right now, because the busyness, the routine, it feels known, predictable, what are the potential costs you haven't really looked at yet? The cost of staying exactly where you are. Which path actually carries the greater risk for you right now? Is it the short-term discomfort of trying something new, taking that tiny first step? Or is it the slow, quiet erosion of potential, of well-being that might come from staying stuck? So we often hear from you, right, about reaching that point where you just, you sense there's something more, that feeling.
Yeah, like you're capable of breaking through something. And honestly, from everything we've seen guiding people, that feeling, it's usually spot on.
Absolutely. There's this incredible potential inside everyone, and it often just starts with acknowledging, okay, I'm ready to move past this thing that feels limiting.
And what's really interesting is that those limits, they are always these, huge concrete walls. Sometimes it's more subtle.
Like habits of thinking.
Exactly. Or emotional patterns that maybe keep you going in circles. The real key, we find, is sort of bringing those unconscious things into the light.
Right. Creating space for something new by seeing the old patterns. And, guiding people through this, the biggest hurdle isn't always the big change itself. It's often just getting started.
That first step, it's shifting from just wanting it to, well, actively doing something about it.
Yeah, making that conscious choice to actually engage with those maybe emotional blocks or beliefs.
And look, if you're feeling that readiness, if this conversation resonates and you're thinking, okay, I want to take that step, we've actually designed something specific for this.
We have. It's a focused experience we're calling Your Personal Revolution.
Think of it as a dedicated pathway, a way to really begin that process of breaking free.
And over 7 days, the main goal really is to help you start identifying and understanding those emotional blockages.
Yeah, and the limiting beliefs, too, that might be holding you back from, feeling the way you actually want to feel deep down.
It's about kicking off a genuine shift, starting that deeper transformation inside.
When it's practical. That's important. Each day you get a specific task. It's not just theory.
No vague ideas. These are actionable things, exercises designed to boost your self-awareness.
Right, and connect you with what really feels authentic for you.
So the real value here, it's about actively participating in your own emotional transformation day by day.
You'll be taking concrete steps, little by little, to understand and work through whatever feels stuck.
And to help you with that, especially in this initial phase, we've put together some specialized tools.
Yeah, and inspiring materials, too, things drawn from our experience and work. It's all structured, step by step.
So you can navigate it without feeling, completely overwhelmed by it all.
Exactly.
And we really believe that this kind of opportunity, this chance to initiate real personal change, it should be accessible to anyone who feels that pull towards growth.
Absolutely. Which is why we wanted to offer this Your Personal Revolution Challenge with a name your price approach.
Meaning you decide. You decide the value you want to place on this 7-day experience.
Based on what feels right for you, what fits your situation right now, and I guess your commitment level to starting this journey.
It puts you in control right from the start.
Yeah. You're in the driver's seat.
So if this is speaking to you, if you're feeling that inner nudge towards something more, and you feel ready to take that really crucial first step, you can find all the details, everything you need to know about how to join the 7-day Your Personal Revolution. It's all available via the link in our profile description.
We genuinely believe in your potential for positive change. We see it all the time.
We do.
Consider this an invitation, really. An invitation to start exploring that potential within you.
And to begin creating that emotional freedom you're looking for. It's possible.
It really is. Just take that first step.